Hello, I'm Jan Thayer, and I'm here today to talk to you about the exciting topic of bookkeeping and taxes. Seriously, it's a really big perk that your business offers come tax time, and I want to give you some tips to stay organized and know what to keep track of to make tax time a little simpler and less of a dreaded thing for you. So, I've been in business for 8 years. I did my own taxes for 6 of those years, the first 6 years, and the last 2 years we had a professional person take care of our taxes for us. We have an accountant, and we did that mostly for other reasons versus my business. So there are people that have been doing this for 20 years that still do their own taxes with TurboTax. So the information that I share with you today is compatible with TurboTax if you decide to do your own taxes. Keep in mind, I am not an accountant and I am not qualified to give you tax advice. I can only share with you what I do to make tax time a less daunting time of year for you. Also, I'd like for you to understand all the benefits that this business can have for you and your family when it comes to tax time. So first of all, my first tip is very important. It's very, very critical, I think, to keep track of your receipts and expenses, business expenses throughout the year so that you don't have to reconstruct the entire year come tax time. If you keep track of things all year long when they occur, it's a lot easier and it makes me already almost ready for taxes versus some documentation we still have to receive. So keep track of things all year round. These things that I'm talking about, what are those things? Well, I have a really simple spreadsheet that I use, and it's called Receipts and Cost of Goods Sold. Hopefully you can see this. It has 4 simple columns: the date column, the event column, receipts, and cost of goods sold. This spreadsheet I like to call money in, money out. So anytime you do an event, a Facebook party, an in-person party, a booth event, a book fair, whatever the event is, when you have money coming in, then you want to write that in the receipts column. And anytime you have money going out to Usborne when you're placing an order, you want to put that in the COGS, or cost of goods sold, column on this spreadsheet. I'll upload all of my spreadsheets to the Dream and Big page at the end of the meeting so that you can print those off and use them. But this just gives you a place so that you put all the money coming in, all the money going out, so that if there's any just differential, you can add it to your receipts or take it off of your cost of goods sold as an expense. So for example, when you do a Facebook party, all of that money is going directly to the company because they're purchasing through your website. You don't have any receipts from that. The only receipts you might have is what the hostess pays you for her portion of the party. That's fine. You'll put that in the receipts column if she pays it to you through your Order Pro, and then your cost of goods sold might be the exact same if you didn't order anything for yourself. But this just allows you to track that to make sure nothing falls through the cracks. The second thing that's really, really very important is your biggest business expense typically is going to be mileage. My biggest expense is always mileage, and I keep track of that on a mileage log, something like this. I purchased this at Office Depot for $2 or $3, and I keep it in the door of my car so that every time I'm taking a trip to do something, I write it in here as a business trip. So if I'm meeting with one of you to do in-person training, I'm meeting with the hostess to do hostess coaching, or to give her a hostess packet, or to deliver books to a customer, I'm meeting with the school, I'm driving to an event, I'm driving back to Indiana to deliver books to some of you, all of those miles are business miles, and I can keep track of those in my mileage log in the door of my car to make sure at the end of the year that I'm reflecting all of the miles that I've driven for business purposes. This includes trips to the copy center, trips to buy office supplies, trips to the post office. The list goes on and on. Anytime you're driving for your business, you want to keep track of that because that's a legitimate business expense. The next form I have is my other expenses form, and again I will upload this into into Dreamin' Big Facebook page. There's a column for the date, a column for advertising, which would be your business cards, your website, things that you use to advertise your business. The next column is postage. Anytime you're mailing a packet to a hostess, you're mailing a catalog, you're mailing something to one of your recruits or team members, you put that in the postage column. The next one is commissions. That's when, as a team leader, sometimes we offer contests and perks that come out of our pocket, and we keep track of that because that's a legitimate business expense. The next one is professional fees. If you join a networking group or an organization in hopes to grow your Usborne business, it could even be a MOPS group or something, then those you would put down as professional fees. The next one is supplies. This one covers and encompasses a lot of areas. It could be ink and toner, copy paper, paper clips, rubber bands, whatever you need to keep your business going. I put in the supplies column. The next one is parking. When I have to pay for parking, when I'm doing an event or working with a school, I keep my parking separate because it asks for it separately in TurboTax. The next one is, can't read, Square fees. For those of you who use the Square, you want to keep track of the fees that you pay for that because that's a legitimate business expense. The next one is travel. For those of you who travel either for calling on accounts or going to do home parties out of town, or mostly for convention or regionals, if you have a hotel expense, cab fare, tips to the bellman, other expenses related around travel, you can write those off. The next one is meals. For those of you who choose to take a hostess or a team member out to dinner or have meals while you're traveling, you can deduct up to 50% of those expenses. And then the last column is notes. That's where I keep track of who I took to lunch or dinner or where I was traveling to, or if I have an unusually large supplies expense, I might tell what that's for. So that helps you with all of the extra expenses, which can be a big perk to you at tax time as well. And then the other document that I use, because we don't have an office to go to, we can take a home office deduction, and this one can include things like your mortgage payment or your rent if you don't own your home. It can include your gas, your electric, your water bill, your sewer bill, trash and recycling. It can really include homeowners association dues. It can also include lawn care, housekeeping if you have someone clean your home. It can include your taxes and your insurance for your home. It can include pest control, furnace maintenance, anything that you do to your home to keep it running. You can keep track of all these expenses on a monthly basis, and then you will use this calculation at the bottom that shows what percentage of your home is actually used for your business, and you keep track of that to determine what percentage of those expenses you can actually write off. So in my case, my office is 5% of the total square footage of my home, so I can include in my taxes 5% of all of those expenses in a calendar year, and I can write those off as a legitimate cost of having an office in my home. The amount of space would be the amount of space that your office is, and then any storage space that you use to store books, etc. So you can determine what that is. For the bottom section, I have two sections. The bottom one is phone and internet. You can see that that one has just phone, cell phone, and internet. Some of you don't have a home phone, but for the communication piece of it, which I break out separately than the utilities. The utilities is based on the amount of space that's used in your home for your Usborne business, but for communications, it's really just a guesstimate of how much of the time that you spend on your phone or your cell phone or your computer is dedicated to your business. So when I started, I wasn't sure what to guess, so I used a guesstimate. I asked my tax advisor what he suggested, and I used 50%. Now, because I work a lot more than I did when I first started, I use a higher percentage. And you can decide what you're comfortable with, and you could, even if you got a cell phone or you got the internet just for this business, you can write off 100% of it. It's totally up to you. Again, keep in mind that I am not a tax advisor. I am not legally able to offer you tax advice, but hopefully some tips to help you with your business. If you still have questions about these forms after you download them from our Dreamin' Big page, please don't hesitate to message me or talk to your team leader so that you can make the most of your Usborne business. Thanks so much and happy tax time.